Hi, welcome to Far From Eden. I will just die on the hill saying that it is not safe out there for men. It's just too risky. Too risky for men to commit to women who have the power of the state behind them to break the relationship, take the kids, take the money, or even, go on a date with a woman and be falsely accused. There's no way to fully vet a woman and know that she would never do that. Most of them will say, I would never do that. But then circumstances change and everything's different because it'll be your fault. It'll be like, well, I did it because you, XYZ, worked too much, didn't give me enough attention, didn't make me feel special. I feel unseen and unheard, etc., etc., etc. She's going to blame all of her, unfulfillment on you and not even realize. And the problem is all the propaganda, all the media, movies, music, everything encourages her brain to do that. I'll give you an example. When I go on TikTok to look for, videos of women who regret divorce or having dating issues and that kind of a thing, it always, I don't go on TikTok a lot. I hate it. But when I've done this to sort of mine for these stories and I know they're out there, it directs me to videos of women encouraging divorce, saying it'll be hard, but you're going to be so much better off. This is your glow up, showing the difference between a woman when she was married and a woman afterwards, just how she looks. And there's so many, this is really insane. There's a lot of videos on there that come to me. The algorithm knows what it's doing. I 100% believe that it is socially engineering people, especially women and, kids, young people. It's socially engineering them to all think a certain way. And so not just the women, it'll show me that, oh, you can get through it and you're so much better off. And I'm so glad I did it. Oh, la, la, la. But then there's all these guys on there and they're usually good looking. And they're on there talking about how when she's done, this is what it is when she's just done. And you're not hearing her and you're making her feel unseen. And I know, because I'm a woman, women will look at those videos of those men, those handsome men, sort of simping for all women, saying that, oh, you're not getting what you need and et cetera, he's ignoring you. It's like a million Steve Harveys, you know what I mean? That's what it's like. And because you guys know Steve Harvey's like Captain Simp. And I know that is convincing the women that, oh, this is what men should be. My man is, defective or he's a narcissistic abuser. He's gaslighting me. He's, what are their other favorite terms? I don't know. But that's where it guides me to those things. And I will go back and do another search and try to find what I'm looking for. And I'm not bad at the internet in that way. It'll take me right down that road too. And I think to myself, if I were a married woman and I was just on TikTok doing whatever, it was going to pull me that way and start to guide my mind to think that my man isn't doing enough for me, that the problems are him. Awful. It's just awful. Like, I actually know of at least one couple before the divorce and after the divorce. And I know how she was consuming a lot of TikTok. And as I was, going through the search, and it was shuffling me into these spaces where, also a ton of witchcraft, like tarot cards and manifesting and all that stuff. And crazily, it's crazy, but I think to myself, how much of her TikTok scrolling and TikTok watching encouraged her to blow up her family? That's crazy. And I'm not on here to say, oh, it's all TikTok's fault. What I'm saying is that it appears that women are quite malleable, and it appears, big news flash, right? Oh, social media is very destructive, particularly to women and young people. This is, I'm not making this up. This is not hateful. This is not an insult. It's just true. It's just true. You can use your eyeballs and see it. I don't need a study. I don't need experts to tell me. I can observe and see what is happening, how one thing leads to the other. So another reason I'm talking about TikTok today is there is a gentleman that has gone absolutely viral telling his story, and there was no way I couldn't cover it. If you haven't seen this story yet, brace yourself, because this man, I don't want to insult him, but he simped around and he found out. And it's absolutely devastating. But it also shows you, I'm going to show you guys the full story. We're gonna see the video, but it shows you how far women will go. And remember, on the hot crazy matrix, she can disappear and reappear anywhere else on the graph. And this gentleman clearly did not realize that. He did not know how far the woman would go and how much power is behind her to do it. So, without further ado, we are going to see this video, and I will pause it throughout because he goes a little quickly. He shows a bunch of text messages, and I want to go through and read those text messages with you. The first couple times I saw it, I didn't do that, and I was like, you know what? Let's experience it together. Lord have mercy. Like, I almost have a sick feeling in my stomach because I know what we're about to see. It's just terrible. Okay. He says, I agreed to get an older woman pregnant, and she tried to ruin my life. There's so many of you right now that know right away, like, oh, Lord have mercy, why did you do that? But he didn't know. You're not MGTOW until you're MGTOW. And generally, something happens to the man that makes him say, I'm out. I don't want to play anymore. The game is rigged. It's rigged against me. I can never even, it's never fair. It's like when you're a kid and you're playing Monopoly or you're playing Uno or whatever, and the other person just keeps changing the rules. And you're like, okay. And of course they're changing it for their benefit. And eventually you're like, I don't want to play with you anymore. I don't understand how that's hateful. I don't understand how that's aggressive towards women. It's not. It's just saying, I don't want this, and I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to take care of myself, and I'll just leave you alone. I will just leave you alone? How is that hateful? How is that horrible? It's not. They have to try and twist it and make it seem that way. But this story is it's not the most common example, obviously, but if this man isn't MGTOW now, I don't know. Hopefully he's not like, well, it's just her. It was just her. Hopefully he doesn't think that. All right. Oops, you need sound. Huh. You need sound. Well, I'm not getting sound. Hold on a second. Let's try this. Oh, maybe because of this. Can you tell I don't do TikTok? Let's try that again.
This is the story of me agreeing to get an older woman pregnant and then her trying to ruin my life. When I was 23, I had a one night stand with a girl from my hometown named Maria. We both knew it was nothing more than that, and we didn't speak after. Several months later, I received a text from her saying that she hadn't been lucky in love and she wanted a baby before it was too late. So she asked if I would get her pregnant and I wouldn't have to bear any responsibility, like a sperm donor. So I considered it, and I first thought no, but after some, time to think about it, I thought it'd be the right thing to do for someone struggling. So
I have a question, and I don't, he doesn't really answer it. And he said, get her pregnant like a sperm donor. I wonder if they actually did that in a clinic or if it was like a, physical, old-fashioned way. Because women have this, even the ones with a higher body count, sometimes they will bond, and it's like a transaction has taken place. It's sort of like, well, you've done this to me, so now you owe me. And I don't think they realize it so much, but that is where, it's my firm belief that that is where the crazy ex-girlfriend comes from, because now she's like, hey, you owe me. And she's like, bunny in the pot. Oh.
So we filled out an ironclad agreement, and basically I wouldn't be responsible at all. A while later, she told me she was ovulating, and then a few weeks after that, she told me she was pregnant and it had worked. I went back to California for work, and we didn't speak after that.
That was quick, right? That was pretty easy, especially she's getting older before it's too late. That's suspicious.
Unbeknownst to me, she contacted my family behind my back and invited them to the baby shower. They then began getting dinner or whatever regularly, and as she got to know my parents started encouraging me to be in the baby's life, and once I found out it was a little girl, I thought it was the right thing to do. I flew home to be there for the birth, and I got a tattoo of our daughter's middle name before she was born.
Did he think about any of this before he did it? Did he never think about any of this? I guess not. I guess not. Poor guy. Look at him. You can tell, like, he's making this video and he's broken down. I know this look in men. Look at his face. He's just empty. He's just devastated because of how he has been used and manipulated. This woman is manipulating the whole situation. She's going behind his back. She's getting his family involved, all to rope him in. And he did not see it coming because, unfortunately, so many men were raised to think that women are sugar and spice and all things nice. Women are raised to think that men are selfish. All they care about is hanky-panky, and that men will manipulate to get hanky-panky, this, that, and the other, and that men don't care about family. And like, we're taught this to the point where many women would choose a bear encounter in the woods over a man encounter in the woods. That's how much we are trained to basically hate you. And you guys are trained to trust us, to think that we are somehow morally superior, to think that we are more nurturing, sugar and spice and all things nice. And this is where it leads.
After our daughter was born, Maria wanted us to be
what it says here. All good. I'm gonna stop by. What? Popey practice if you want some. Okay. Sorry if it seems it's had the poopiest something. I want to try and make it work. With us being a family, can we do that? I want to be with you, Brett. Good God. I hate when you leave us. I just need you to say something or how you feel about that. I'm sorry, but that isn't what I want to do. That hurts. Look at that. My feelings are your responsibility. I've changed my mind, and therefore you need to get with the program. She did not realize, this is the thing, women think that they can just decide. She had the baby, and her instincts tell her we should have a man around. She feels vulnerable. She feels overwhelmed. She feels lonely. She believed the propaganda that, oh, I'm just going to have a baby and I'm going to be superwoman and it's going to be amazing and I'll be a mom on my own. That's a lie. Tries to rope him into further relationship. Women try to con men into relationship because women control, they are the gatekeepers of the hanky-panky, but we are not the gatekeepers of relationship. So what you see time and time again in this day and age, especially women trying to con men into relationship, into something they can't get out of, like a government contract, like a baby, because once she has the child with you, she now has leverage. Leverage because of the state and because of your feelings. A man is naturally going to want to protect his offspring. And this man didn't seem to realize that either, because we are all fed all these lies of, that he can just be a sperm donor and it's like, oh, fine, you'll have the baby and he's not going to care. Maybe he believes some of the lies about who men are. Maybe he didn't know. I have heard and listened to men say, once you have a child, your whole world changes. I have listened to divorced men say that once their children are not under their roof, the anxiety, the pain of not having them under their roof where they know they're safe is incredibly painful and just, I don't think there are words to describe it. I don't think anxiety covers it. He has this instinctual need to protect his young. And when they are under a separate roof and there's either no man under that roof to protect them, what if there's a fire? What if somebody breaks in? All the rest of it, he knows she's not going to do anything. And then say when she inevitably brings another man into the situation, then he's now wondering, well, what's that guy gonna do? Like, he doesn't fully trust it. It must be horrible. And so this poor man, he didn't know that any of that was gonna happen. I guess he thought he would just be detached or something. We are made a certain way. And it is my contention that God has written all this into us. And people will make a case that, oh, we evolved this way, and this is how we protect our young, and this is what's better. And I think that's true, but I think it came from somewhere. Either way, it's true. And also, the powers that be, the educational system, all the media, everything hides it from us because they want these broken situations. If people knew how important the nuclear family is, then we would have more of them and we'd have less of this. All right, let's continue.
Be together and be a family. And when I said I didn't want to do that, she wouldn't let me see my daughter.
See, now she has leverage. And he's like, my daughter. She wouldn't let me see my daughter. The baby and I need to stay in your house for like 2 months until I can get our own place and so that I can save a little more. I am taking a position remote, which comes with a huge pay cut, but I won't have to put our daughter in daycare and I can be home with her. Looks like we're closing this property on June 9th in whatever. So I'm going to be packed up and out of this apartment the weekend prior to the 9th. I'll put all of my stuff in storage except our clothes. Can we stay there? Listen to that. We need to stay in your house for 2 months. Entitlement. She was going to have a baby. Did she not realize? She didn't realize, I don't want to put this kid in daycare, right? That's another lie that we get told, like, oh, just have a baby, put it in daycare, and then sort of like as if you can press pause on the baby while you go do your work and you go be awesome girl boss, and then boop, unpause the baby and don't think about that the baby's abandoned and what the baby's going through. And how does she not have housing? Like, and also, how is this hit with the ironclad agreement and everything? They had it all worked out. How is this his responsibility? Kind of important you respond. Oh, you're deliberately ignoring me, and it's extremely frustrating. Oh my gosh. Fatal attraction. I will not be ignored. That's Glenn Close. I will not be ignored. Wow. I wonder why nobody wanted to marry her and have a baby with her. Maybe people saw, like, she's running out of time. Well, maybe that was for a reason. Oh, frustrating. Considering I'm asking you to put a roof over your daughter's head. The guilt, the manipulation. If you don't want to help us, then let's see a lawyer and sign your rights over. Oh my gosh. And let me legally, I can't see the rest. The audacity, just absolute. She thinks she's in the right. His mind must have been exploding at this point.
Main source of income at the time was the Airbnb that I owned. And she said this a few months after she was born. I felt bad, so I let her move in for several months, rent-free. Once she moved out, she told me this: I've never done anything to warrant supervised visits, but I agreed to keep the peace. I would come home as often as I could to see our daughter, and things were usually okay.
Look at that. Look at all those pictures. Look how sweet. The pseudo family. Boy, she just uses them, you know? I know Ken, Barbie and Ken with girls when we used to play with Barbies, you know, before everything was screens, you know, Ken was just an accessory. He didn't have anything going on himself. Barbie had this, and this. Ken was just like there for Barbie. This is just, he's a Ken. That's what I think.
When I was there, these are all from her Facebook. One Halloween, I didn't want to wear matching costumes with Maria, so she wouldn't let me see my daughter for a while. And when our daughter...
Wait a minute. He didn't want to wear matching Halloween costumes, so she decided not to let him see his daughter. Based on he wouldn't wear matching Halloween costumes? Oh, Lordy, I'm telling you what, they can disappear and reappear anywhere in the chart. Maybe they were friends and they got along and all that. He did not see any of this. He did not see any of this behavior. It's primal. The woman has a child and primally she's like, oh my God, we're alone. We need protection. I will do whatever I have to rope him in. Oh.
Being baptized, I drove a 14-hour round trip from Nashville to attend. And because I didn't want to see Maria the night before, she didn't allow me to come to the baptism at all.
What?
Soon after this, she served me with child support, saying that our original contract wasn't valid because our daughter didn't have a social security number yet. And I didn't fight her on it. I didn't have the time. I was living away. I ended up paying her $10,000 up front and $750 a month.
Oh my God. Like, when does the simping stop? Here's the thing. You can't simp your way out of it. I've seen this too. when a man is dealing with a difficult ex-wife, it's like he thinks if he just keeps acquiescing, she will eventually become reasonable. No, no. It's like saying, well, if we put a little, not to bring up bears again, but if we put a little food out for the bears, then they won't, come into our tent, because we'll put some sandwiches out for the bears, and then we'll be safe. No, you can't feed the bears anything, because once you give them a little bit, they're going to look for more. This is how the women are. You cannot look at them like they're the prey. As I said in another video, they are not the gazelle. They are the lion. And he's thinking, if I just do this, if I just do that, fine, I care about my daughter, so I'll pay some child support. Okay, I'll let her live under the roof. It's a slippery slope with these women. You cannot simp your way out of it.
I was able to move home soon after that, and I began seeing our daughter regularly. Everything was going really well until I got a girlfriend. Even though she had a boyfriend who was regularly around our daughter, she said that my girlfriend couldn't be around our daughter. I was able to get our daughter for an afternoon, and Maria asked what I was doing. I told her that I was with my girlfriend, and we were at Lowe's together. She freaked out. I said I'd bring her daughter back to her as soon as we were done, but instead...
Simping again. She freaked out. It's okay, I'll bring her back when we're done. It's okay, da-da-da-da. They freak out when you move on. And they weren't even really together. They weren't even really a couple. But she just feels like she owns him now. She absolutely feels like she owns him now. And she feels threatened because another woman is sniffing around, because she doesn't want to lose control over him. It's not because she cares about him. She's not possessive because she cares about him. She's possessive because she wants the control. What happens in her brain, right? In her crazy brain, what happens if he decides, oh, he's got a new partner, and maybe he starts a family with that lady, and maybe he starts to say, you can, that's fine, I'll just send me pictures of our daughter, etc. And what if he starts to move on? Then she loses her leverage. It's control. She wants control. She doesn't care about him at all. She wants control over him, his wallet, the stability that he can provide. At the end of the day, she knows that if he cares about the daughter, then she can control him and can extract resources. And that if anything happens to her, if she loses her job, if anything, he's the safety net. If he's the safety net for a new woman, then the manipulative woman has nothing. And he's still trying to simp his way out of it, saying, oh, bring her home. And listen to what Crazy had to say about that and do about that.
Maria drove to Lowe's, apparently called my dad, and was running up and down the aisle screaming. I don't know what actually happened, but she was freaking out, just blowing up my phone, thinking she was in danger. And keep in mind, my girlfriend is a mom as well as a nurse. Our daughter was never in any danger. When I offered Maria and my girlfriend to get to know each other so they'd be comfortable, with my daughter being around, she immediately said no and called my girlfriend a word that rhymes with chore and refused to get to know her. Maria then made a public post saying that I was a deadbeat dad and that I hadn't seen our daughter in weeks. Here I am with our daughter just a few days prior to this post. I also left my best friend's bachelor party a day early so I could be home for Father's Day, and she still wouldn't allow me to see her. She even said this to my grandmother. She had her friends comment mean things on my girlfriend's social media multiple times, even though my girlfriend has never been anything but nice to Maria. Because Maria tends to do this, I want to make sure that she doesn't twist the story and make it seem like I abandoned our daughter. I recently found out that our daughter isn't mine.
Did you guys get that? He found out that this little girl, this whole time, that he has her middle name tattooed on him, that he's been fighting to see her, that has caused all this turmoil. He's spent all this money, and the child isn't even his. The pain, the loss, the grief. After all this, like, I worry for this man. I worry for him. I don't want him to, you know, see if he can fly off of a bridge. I don't want to see that. I don't want to, you know, because this can devastate a man. It's she slandered him. She extracted resources from him. She guilted him. She tried to turn his family against him and pressure him. He went through all of that. He took all of that. And the little girl isn't even his. And I know you guys are like, 30% of children are being raised by men who think they're their fathers and are not. And I don't know if that's a little skewed because that's from people who sought out paternity tests. So maybe there was already a suspicion. But then again, there's a lot of guys out there who don't suspect that the child isn't theirs. So maybe it is 30%. I only took one statistics class, so I couldn't tell you. But either way, that's awful. Even if it's 10%. This is diabolical that women would do this. And then I've also seen that women will say, well, he still needs to raise it even if it isn't his. Like there's this entitlement that, no, you owe that child you. And it's not about the child. None of this is about the child. None of it is. When they leverage the child against you and they say so that it's not for the child, it's all leverage for the woman to extract resources, etc., from you. What kind of monster uses their own children like this? And it harms the children because it creates distance between the child and the father. And a lot of times the child grows up thinking that dad was no good, that dad didn't want them, that dad abandoned them, et cetera, because that's what's coming out of the mom's mouth, who is the primary, the person who's raising the child. What kind of person does that? Men don't do that. By and large, men don't do that. It's just stunning. It's just absolutely stunning. I've seen this video like 5 times and I just can't. I think it gets worse as I see it. I think it gets worse. It's just awful.
I don't know who the dad is, but I've had 2 paternity tests done and they both say this. I believed Maria when she told me that I was the only possible father. The situation was weird, but I was always happy to be a dad. I knew that Maria already knew she was pregnant. She had to have when she asked me to get her pregnant. I didn't think that was something that someone would lie about to another human being. Not only to me, but my entire family as well. Everybody's distraught about this.
I wonder what prompted him to get the paternity test. I wonder that. But also, I know from learning from you guys, it's like, well, she got pregnant by a loser, right? Who had no prospects and maybe didn't have the resources this man has. And so she already knew before she asked him. I will say, this is my opinion. I don't know Maria, but my opinion is that she already knew that this guy was very nice, that this guy would do what she wanted, and that this guy had resources. He clearly has the resources to be like, I paid her $10,000 up front, blah, 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 with child support. He was an easy mark. And women know who's an easy mark. When they're done with the Chad, when they're done with the Chads and they go look for the beta provider, they know who they're looking for. They know who isn't going to challenge them. They know who isn't going to hold them to standards and hold them accountable. and they marry that guy. They know it's absolutely, they know what they're doing.
Maria, I allowed you to paint me as the villain and you as the victim for years to keep peace, but I hope you know that the only victim here is your child.
That's right.
This is the story.
That's right. The victim is the child. Well, isn't that so sweet? He said the only victim is the child. This is men. This is men. I just caught this now. He's saying to Maria that she painted herself as the victim and he was the villain. And he says the only victim is our child. He's a victim too. He's not even saying, I spent all this money, I did all this. He's thinking about his family and how they were hurt. He's thinking about his child, or the child, and how she was hurt. He's not even thinking about himself and how he was the victim. This is how men are. They don't view themselves as the victim. And I'm not saying you should. I'm commending you for having that kind of an outlook. Men take accountability. Just it's in your nature. The younger ones now coming up, and the ones who don't, I often look at them and I think, were you raised mostly by your mother? Even if your parents were together, was she the one who kind of led the household? Was it reactive and emotional? Or did you learn, to take accountability and be responsible and all that? It's the men that are coming up nowadays who are not taking accountability and who are emotionally reactive. That is an absolute lack of masculinity in our society, and lack of it and vilifying it. This poor man, this poor man. And now he's got this emotional bond with this little girl. And I'm sure he feels terrible for her that she doesn't have a father, because this woman has made terrible decisions, selfish decisions. So selfish. First of all, it was selfish of her to get pregnant outside of a nuclear family on purpose. That was selfish to begin with. But when you are raised, in a secular world and you think that, oh, that's just fine. It's not. It's not. This is the result of all that. And this poor man just simped his way into this mess. And he simped his way into something that, in a way, he's not the one who impregnated her. So I guess he didn't create the child. He very well could have, though, right? I'm really glad that this video has gone super viral. I know just a day or so ago, it had 15 million views on TikTok. I don't even know if I know how to see how many views it has. Let's see if I can. I don't even know where to look, you guys. I don't know TikTok at all. 3 days ago. Jeez. 40,000 comments. Wow. 40,000 comments. Amazing. Amazing. Brett Fairley. That's just wild. Oh, this says 1.5, not 15. I don't know who. Somebody told me 15, and I don't know where that came from, but I know it's everywhere. I do know that. It's got to be higher than 1.5. Plus, people like me are covering it. So I hope that it gets spread far and wide to wake men up to the reality of what women can do. We can sit here all day and say, well, that's a women's character. But at the end of the day, they have the power of the state behind them. And the power of the state can come down and absolutely demolish you, extract your resources, and put you in jail because you don't pay the resources. It's just, it's not safe. It's not safe to be out there. In being vulnerable to that sort of you know, demolishing your life. They can demolish your life. And unless and until that changes, I just don't think it's safe for men to get married and I not to cohabitate. And I don't know that it's even safe to like date a girl, because she can baby trap you and then have this whole thing happen. So I think that's sad. I don't want men to be lonely. I don't want you guys to not be able to have families. I don't want that to be true. But at the same time, there are too many men in my life that I care about that I would never want to go through anything like this. So I don't know how anybody can argue against MGTOW. I just don't. Like, can anybody explain to me how MGTOW is the wrong thing for men to do? Can anybody explain to me why men should get married? I would love to debate Michael Knowles on this, for example. I will go toe to toe, and I believe in God. I am a Christian, but I do not think the government, should have this kind of control over our lives. I think that's actually anti-Christian. So this has got to stop. And the best way for it to stop is for men to say, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to play anymore, because that is the only thing that will get the women to change. Because at the end of the day, whether they admit it or not, women want babies and they want families. They don't say it, they don't even think it, but trust me, this chick's crazy reaction is that primal desire for those things. But it has to be in check. There has to be checks on her. There has to be social checks on her. Right now, there's no check on women at all. So men have to just go on strike unless and until conditions improve. And it might take a generation or two. We might get to the point where, the blink hits the fan and the grid goes down, and all this, infrastructure and things that make it possible for women to be independent will make them realize this. So nature might check them, and then you can trust them. But you can't now. You just can't. You just can't. And never apologize for that. You have nothing to apologize for that. Not at all. You're not hateful. You're not misogynistic. You're not any of those things. You are trying to preserve yourself. And you have every right to do that. You have a responsibility to do that. So that is a hill I will die on, and I will argue with anybody about it. That's it. That's it. And I will tell you, it can be difficult. It's not that MGTOW is super easy, especially as you realize it, like what this man must be going through now. He must be like, unless he thinks that was just the one-off. I'm going to find the good one. I'm going to find the one that would never do that to me. Are ya? Are ya? That's a risky bet. So go your own way. Just go your own way. Protect your peace. Feed your soul. Invest in yourself. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.